Hey, welcome in. You're listening to a daily editorial on the Cortland Economics Report. I'm Al Cortland. Appreciate you joining me. As most of you regular listeners are probably aware, the little blonde lady and I, the gorgeous blonde lady and I, to be perfectly accurate, are on our way down to Washington, D.C. We're going to be spending some time with a friend of ours, and that friend is Ron Paul, as Ron Hera has it, as Ron has a sticker on his suit. Going to spend a day and a half or so with Jeff Deist and Paula, his wife. And hopefully the congressman will have an hour or two for us also. I'm looking forward to that. I have been chatting with Ron about the concept of taking a red pill and a blue pill and the implications of that. Very, very germane to my upcoming visit down to Washington, D.C. Talk about the red pill and the blue pill first, and then I'll tell you why it's germane to our trip.
Well, if you've seen the 1998 film The Matrix, the protagonist Neo meets with a character Morpheus who offers him a choice of a blue pill or a red pill. If he takes the blue pill, he believes whatever he wants to believe, which means in the context of the film that he stays in a computer-generated dream world.
Correct.
And we're in a computer-generated dream world right now in terms of what's happening in the financial markets.
I agree.
If he takes the red pill, then he experiences reality as it actually is, which is obviously a much less happy scenario. Much
less happy. You know, I did a couple of TV spots yesterday, and then I did another one Tuesday evening, and the one that I found, well, they were all interesting and they were all a lot of fun, but the one that was very, very interesting was the first one that I did because we talked a little bit about politics, and the host basically was not a fan of the president. He was also not a fan of Mitt Romney. He said, I can't vote for either one. And my question to him, and he thought that our mutual friend, Congressman Paul, was a quote-unquote nutcase, okay? So I said, well, that's really great, but it sounds to me like, you got a real problem. What are you going to do? And he said, well, for the first time in my life, I may not vote. And I said, what's that going to accomplish? What do you think?
Well, I think the size of government is disproportionate to the size of the economy right now.
Absolutely.
And I think that we're on an unsustainable course in terms of deficit spending. I think that if interest rates increase, we'll face a fiscal crisis sooner rather than later. And I think that if there's any chance of reducing that size of government, of taking the pain in the short term and having the economy back on a sound footing, then that would mean cutting expenses and cutting the size of government down and allowing the free market to work, allowing the economy to recover, less encumbered by taxes, less encumbered by government. Now, that will be painful and disruptive in the short term.
Well, but Mitt Romney says it's not painful. He said, we'll just do it via attrition.
Well,
that makes about as much common sense as going outside New York City right now in a swimming suit when it's pouring down rain and it's probably 45 degrees.
Well, I think the important thing about Romney's strategy is that it will have no effect whatsoever during his term as president.
All right. I mean, that's a very interesting point. We're obviously caught. Well, what about people who die? We're obviously caught between a rock and a hard spot right now. There's no question about it. We don't seem to have a rational direction from the government. Would you agree with that?
I agree. Romney's a status quo candidate. At the end of the day, Romney represents the entrenched bureaucracy. He represents the same special interests, virtually the same, not exactly the same, but also special interests. So I don't really see how Romney's going to make any fundamental change in direction. I mean, right now, the Congress has taken the blue pill.
Yeah, the Congress has taken the blue pill. And I got to tell you, I think I'll bet you they have an unlimited refill for that baby because, what's happening just doesn't make any sense. Okay, Ron's got a great newsletter. His organization is called Hera Research, LLC. Talk about your newsletter.
Well, I cover natural resource stocks.
Yep.
I break them down by the resource types. I look for resources that are rising in value because of supply and demand fundamentals. Right now, I'm focused very much on precious metals because they're depressed in price.
You bet.
And I expect that they will recover, and also the demand remains strong. In fact, central banks are buying gold, for example. Investment demand remains strong for silver. So I think that's those producers are very attractive right now. I then break down the companies by their life cycle stage. So they go from basically exploration to a pre-production and then to junior producer, mid-tier, and major producer. And that reflects an asset allocation strategy across life cycle stages. Right now what I'm doing is moving uphill, so to speak, into more mature companies. As the market has declined, I've basically taken profits and gotten rid of more speculative companies and put cash into companies that have strong balance sheets, that have strong cash flow.
And correct me if I'm wrong, and I know I'm not on this one because we've been friends for a long time and I read your material. You invest in the companies that you cover primarily, and if I'm not mistaken, your newsletter is, you are totally arm's length, disclose totally arm's length from the companies. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's right. So
that's
what
important.
I'm publishing is my own portfolio. So
right.
It's my own research for my investments. I'm an investor first, a newsletter writer second. So I have my own portfolio. I publish all my portfolio changes, and the newsletter is entirely funded by subscribers. So it might be a little more expensive than some of the other newsletters, but there's no corporate sponsors. And although a lot of guys do a good job with that, I think it helps me to be more objective.
There you have it from Ron Hera, Hera Research. Ron is a regular guest on our program. He'll be on again in the near future. Ron, thanks so much, buddy.
Thanks for having me on.